when you try to make your team your family, a big thing that can come from that is you actually keeping people longer than they should actually be there, because you have this emotional connection to them. So now you like, even though you know they shouldn't be on the team, you're still keeping them, even though they're toxic to the culture, even though, and then your other people on your team, they'll start to say, okay, wow, they can actually come here and underperform and they can get away with it. So now I can underperform. So now you create a culture of underperformance. Hey, what's up, my friends? Mark Russell here, the CEO and co-founder of Strategic Scale Institute. And for the past 10 years, we've been helping service-based business owners build and grow 6, 7, and 8-figure companies. And throughout that process, we've actually grown and scaled teams. We've leaned our teams out, and also we've helped other companies and CEOs build their teams as well. And in this video, I want to actually share with you 7 team building mistakes for you to avoid, which has actually cost me countless amounts of dollars, maybe millions, and it cost other businesses owners the same type of, and most important, and outside of just the money, but the time that it takes as well. And I want to give you these strategies and insights so you can actually avoid these particular mistakes. So let's go ahead and dive in. I actually got some notes on my phone because I could actually go longer than the 7 mistakes, but I'm gonna just give you these 7 mistakes right quick, right? So the first mistake is having what we call a family culture, right? So let me explain what I mean. So at one point, when we built our teams, we used to be like, hey, we're a family, we're a family, we're a family. And what I found from that is when you try to make your team your family, what happens is a big thing that can come from that is you actually keeping people longer than they should actually be there, because you have this emotional connection to them. So now you like, even though you know they shouldn't be on the team, you're still keeping them, even though they're toxic to the culture, even though, and then your other people on your team, they'll start to say, okay, wow, they can actually come here and underperform and they can get away with it. So now I can underperform. So now you create a culture of underperformance and you're just keeping this person way longer than you expected. So that's number 1. Number 2 is avoiding meetings. Like a lot of business owners, they're grinding and they want to make things happen and they're focused on sales and marketing and so forth, and they hate meetings. I believe that meetings, when done right, I'm gonna do a whole nother video on the right meeting rhythm to actually do. However, a lot of business owners, they try to avoid meetings and they just expect their team to actually go out and just do stuff on their own and figure stuff out. When meetings are actually one of the highest forms of leverage in your company when they're done right. Again, I got a video around here that actually walk you through the best way to do the meetings as well. So that's number 2, avoiding meetings. And what happens is when you don't have meetings, now you have these recurring problems, these recurring challenges in your business. And they just snowball and you just haven't addressed them because you aren't having the necessary communication rhythms. Number 3 is regularly criticizing without regular praise, right? Now, I don't believe in just praising people just for the sake of praising them, just because then people will be like, it's not genuine. There's also times when people say, it's kind of going, if you think about parenting, right? Some parents will say, well, they know I love them, right? Well, when was that time you told your kids that you actually love them, right? What about with your team? Like have you assumed that your team knows that you appreciate them? Or have you actually let them know that you appreciate them, right? So one of the things that we do on our all hands meetings, and when we do those once a quarter, or we do them once a month, once a quarter, just depending on what's going on, right? And depending on the time you're watching this video. But one of the things we do is we recognize somebody on the team. Now, we're not just recognizing them just on the all hands meeting, but just simple things like thank you, or just acknowledging when you see people doing what they're doing what they're supposed to do, and you celebrating them and letting them know. But that's a big thing in creating a culture of celebration, right? So that's number 3. Number 4, number 4 is raises for the heck of it, right? Raises for the heck of it. So raises for the heck of it is basically when you just give people raises just because they've been there. So like, for example, you may say, okay, well, they've been here 3 years, they've been here 4 years, or you just do a year, you do a raise just on tenure. I don't necessarily believe in that, because it's almost as if trophies just for participation, right? It's like if you're doing, and again, this is probably gonna make some people mad, but it's like if you're doing the same exact work and you aren't technically adding any additional value, not saying you're not adding value, but any additional value, right, outside of what you're already doing, I don't think that warrants a raise. Because you're doing the same thing, right? And that's no disrespect to anybody, but a lot of times people will do that, and now people will start thinking just because they actually get a raise. If they stick out another year, they'll get a raise just because. And I don't think that's how it works. Next is no clear metrics, right? So I think every role should have some specific metrics based on that specific role. So if it's in the marketing department, what specific metrics are you tracking to make sure this individual is performing? So now when you're doing your quarterly reviews or your monthly reviews, or how often do you do reviews, you can actually measure, okay, here's what they did, here's what they've done, here's how they're progressing throughout the whole process. But if you don't have metrics in every single department, from operations to client services to sales to marketing, whatever, these things are gonna be very, very, very important to have in place. Next thing is gonna be clear roles and responsibilities. Again, this ties back to the metrics, but being very clear on here's what these roles look like, here's what success looks like in your particular role, here's what done looks like. You'll be surprised. I speak to CEOs and owners all the time, and they're just expecting people to know what they're supposed to do, and they're expecting them to know what done looks like, which is a huge mistake. So you want to have it clear. Here's what your scorecard, even when we hire new team members with their onboarding agreement and their onboarding process, we have what we call scorecards. And that scorecard, it describes what their role should look like, and it also describes what KPIs and metrics that they should actually be hitting as well. Okay, so that's number 6. And then lastly, number 7 is making it wrong to make mistakes, right? So when you make it wrong to make mistakes, or if you criticize people for making mistakes, what happens is people then begin to hide their mistakes, right? But I would encourage mistakes, like make it okay to make mistakes, because I think it's in the mistakes where people actually grow, right? So creating a culture where, okay, yeah, you made a mistake, you are honest about the mistake, okay, let's make the adjustments. Because if you don't, and they think they're gonna get fussed at or get fired just because they made a mistake, then they're gonna hide the mistake, and again, this becomes one of those recurring issues. So those are the 7 team building mistakes that I see CEOs and business owners make consistently. I could literally go on and on. I might do a part 2 on this video, but if you want more resources and tools to help you predictably scale your business, whether that's building a world-class team, whether that's creating an automated marketing system, and whether that's removing yourself from the day-to-day client delivery so you can build a business that's more predictable and scalable, look in the description section of this video. I got some cool resources and tools for you that you can actually go dive into. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to subscribe, comment below, let me know if you got some value from this, and if you want me to dive deeper in anything here, I'll definitely do that, and we'll talk soon.